Oh, you said J.Cole. I don't look at him the same. He ain't come outside. Sometimes you tell me, Joe, you want the 100 million, this, that, you got to say the truth. I don't look at him the same. The fucking sword is dull. I don't care what he spit. Because I've been listening to him spitting. I always said he's one of the greatest. And all that is irrelevant to me when you talking all that gangster shit and they call you to the yard and you don't step outside.
So basically what Fat Joe is saying is that he doesn't look at J. Cole the same after he was hesitant to hop in the whole Kendrick and Drake debacle where Kendrick happened to call his name out in a lighter way, but nonetheless, he still called his name out. So now that would remove him out of the tier of being considered part of the big three. Do I understand where he's coming from as his own personal opinion? Yes. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. What he doesn't mention is that J. Cole did hop into the battle, but then quickly removed himself out after his first diss track because the brother could see what kind of headspace this whole ordeal would put him in if he continued on. Me personally, I commend him for it. This idea, just because it's hip hop and somebody calls you out, that you gotta go all in full force, and usually nothing's off the table. Throw in baby mamas, let's talk about children, let's do all kind of things off the wall. It stops being about hip hop. That's when you need to come to terms with yourself as a man and determine where your line is drawn. And I feel like that's all J. Cole did. He knew where the line was and he decided not to cross it. He knew if he stepped over that line, got involved in that, what it would do to him. And that's his own personal walk, you know what I mean, for his own mental state. And recognizing that and being aware of that takes a whole lot of restraint and a lot of discipline. And that's one thing that a lot of men, I would say, lack is discipline. Y'all think J. Cole cared anything about what people got to say about him opting out of the battle? J. Cole don't care nothing about that. J. Cole just wanted to be able to soundly sleep at night knowing that that ain't weighing on his conscience. Something that he knew wasn't gonna sit right with him. Let me tell you something. Some of these guys out here with this mindset of the way Fat Joe is attacking it, that's the part of the problem right there. You know, like there's no disrespect against him. To each his own. If he felt like he wanted to go and just destroy him and do whatever, you know what I mean? Maybe it don't weigh on his conscience like that. You know what I mean? That's his own personal battle. But if you are aware of what it'll do to you and know it'll take you out of your character and what it'll bring out of you, then you're making the right decision with that. Knowing where you stand as a man, we done seen enough examples of beefs between Jay-Z and Nas,
Ja Rule
versus 50 Cent, Beanie Sigel and Jadakiss, State Property and D-Block. And when you hear all them brothers describe the stories of the beef now, from back then, they made it abundantly clear that if they saw one another back then, when it was hot and heavy, that somebody was gonna die. I believe Styles P was said like he was ready to go to jail for his.
Rockefeller joint was actually personal. So that could have went wrong. That could have went all the way wrong, and it was more ego and pride.
I seen it coming from you too, man, where you said that you would have shot Jay and Hove at that time. That's how it really was.
Definitely. And I'm pretty sure they would have did the same. Well, I can't say Hove, but I'm pretty sure Beans would have shot me also.
You know what I mean? If he saw Beanie Sigel, you know, it really got to a dark place for some of these people. You know what I mean? These beats ain't no joke about. It's nothing to joke about. It's really not. And you gotta know where the line is. That's the main thing. And I really commend him for that. As much as hip hop beefs and back and forths is foundational to hip hop, can it ever be a line where it goes too far and people are just unsatisfied with that? Because that's where I am with things. Hip hop beefs from its origins all the way up to this point have only gotten worse. Rappers have found new ways to talk about your mama, your children, and your wives, and all else under the sun. And because hip-hop beef can go back as far as L, Cool J, and Cool Mo D beefing with one another, is that necessarily something we should celebrate and replicate? I mean, if it happened, it happened. You can't take that away. But is it valid for us to continue to replicate, knowing how toxic it can become? Whatever happened to MCs who had a beef and decided to meet up that night at the house party and settle it on the mic with one another, and they would go back and forth maybe 2-3 rounds and leave it all out there? It didn't get super crazy, but they did what they had to do and they shook hands and that was it. The reason why hip hop has gotten so far away from that is because as time went on, people continue to say the most heinous and bringing family members into it, shouting the most disrespectful and offensive things you can name, therefore hurting their ego to the point where if they physically see that rapper who was talking all that smack about him, I mean, another perfect example of that is the whole Biggie and Tupac thing. Something that started out as just a hip hop beef led to a Coast War. East versus West. I mean, that's an example right there to show how far things can go. Now, no matter whose side you on in the midst of it, all it takes is one person out of the two to be overly emotional.
I feel sorry for your mother. What you say about
And while I got love for both of them brothers who were true hip-hop icons, that was just something that didn't have to happen. With hip-hop beef, all it takes is one person to hit that nuclear button, and you don't know what could happen. So that's why I commend J. Cole for his stance, and I understand it, because it wasn't hip-hop for him.
I try to keep it friendly, but at the end of the day, when I listen to it and when it comes out and I see the talk, that don't sit right with my spirit. That make me feel, that disrupts my fucking peace.
And how does that stance take away any of the legendary stuff he has written, songs he's put together, mixtapes, his entire catalog? How does that change anything? How does him not going outside, quote unquote, change anything? If you a J. Cole fan, you ought to know how the brother's pen is. That's why, to a certain extent, you gotta respect the fact that he ain't jump in that, cause you know he was gonna do damage. The brother wasn't scared. There ain't no doubt in that. This alone does not take him out of the big three conversation, in my opinion. It doesn't bring his bars down, make his words less impactful. Does that make me anti-hip-hop beef? Well, that depends. If we talking about beef like Joyner Lucas and Tory Lanez, win a couple rounds back and forth, consensual, kept it all above belt, I'm fine with that. And that was very entertaining. The display they put on lyrically, oh, that was awesome. But if we are talking about brothers who are intentionally pushing malice and hate and trying to destroy one another, talking about dead relatives and parents and family, I'm not with none of that. And it takes a real man to make the decision that that's not what he wants to do. Because again, it's past hip hop at that point. All in all, just to wrap up, I just don't think it's fair to put the brother down just because he chose to do something righteous. From the looks of it, Cole is just one of them type brothers who just out here trying to get it right. So if his bars is what put him in the big three, he's already solidified his spot. Y'all take care.